Fear rarely announces itself with panic. Most of the time it enters quietly, disguised as hesitation, overthinking, procrastination, or the feeling that now is not the right time. That is why fear controls so many lives without ever being confronted. Weak, but because fear is subtle, patient, and convincing. Fear rarely announces itself with panic. Most of the time it enters quietly, disguised as hesitation, overthinking, procrastination, or the feeling that now is not the right time. That is why fear controls so many lives without ever being confronted. If you are listening to this, fear has likely already delayed something important for you, not because you are weak, but because fear is subtle, patient, and convincing. It does not shout warnings, it whispers reasons. And unless you learn to recognize it clearly, fear will continue making decisions on your behalf. Here is the truth most people never hear. Fear does not disappear when you feel ready. Fear disappears when you move despite it. The biggest mistake people make is believing that courage is the absence of fear. It is not. Courage is action taken while fear is still present. Fear is not something you eliminate first. It is something you outgrow through motion. Waiting to feel fearless is like waiting for the ocean to calm before learning how to swim. The calm never comes, but once you enter the water, your body adapts. Fear works the same way. It loses power the moment it is challenged with movement, even small movement. The simplest technique to overcome fear is not dramatic or motivational. It is quiet, practical, and immediate. It is the act of shrinking fear down to a size your nervous system can tolerate instead of trying to conquer it all at once. Fear feeds on scale. The bigger the future looks, the stronger fear feels. When you imagine everything that could go wrong, your mind overloads and freezes your body. But when you reduce fear to the next tiny, controllable step, fear weakens instantly. Your nervous system does not panic over one small action. It panics over imagined futures. This is why breaking fear into fragments is more effective than fighting it head-on. Most people try to overcome fear mentally by thinking their way out of it. They repeat affirmations, analyze emotions, or wait for clarity. But fear is not logical, it is physiological. Fear lives in the body before it reaches the mind. That means the solution must begin with the body. The moment you take one small physical action, a step, a message, a decision, your body receives new information. You survived. That single signal interrupts fear's control loop. You are no longer stuck in anticipation. You are in experience. And experience always dissolves fear faster than thought. What makes this technique powerful is its simplicity. You do not need confidence, motivation, or belief yet. All you need is willingness to act in increments so small that fear cannot justify stopping you. Fear thrives on hesitation, not difficulty. Most of the things you are afraid of are not actually hard, they are unfamiliar. And unfamiliarity feels dangerous to the brain, but the brain recalibrates quickly once it sees evidence of safety. Each small action becomes proof. Each proof weakens fear's authority. Fear feels real because your mind has been trained to treat uncertainty as danger. Your brain constantly scans for patterns, predicting outcomes to protect you from loss, embarrassment, or pain. The problem is not prediction, it is exaggeration. When you step towards something unfamiliar, your mind fills in missing information with worst-case scenarios. Unless you understand this mechanism, you will mistake fear for intuition, when it is simply guessing without evidence. Fear grows in isolation. The longer an idea stays in your head without action, the more distorted it becomes. Thoughts loop, imagined consequences multiply, and anticipation feels heavier than reality. Fear intensifies in silence, not because danger is present, but because the mind has space to rehearse threats. Fear does not need facts, it only needs time and attention. The technique continues by separating what is happening now from what your mind predicts later. Fear collapses the future into the present, making you feel as if something bad is already happening. But when you ask what is actually happening in this moment, the answer is usually neutral. You are breathing, you are safe, This distinction matters because the body reacts to immediacy. When you anchor yourself in the present, fear loses urgency. Fear is often mistaken for a stop sign, but it was never meant to stop you, only to slow you slightly. When you stop your life every time fear appears, fear learns that showing up works. Over time, it shows up more often, but when you move forward anyway, fear loses credibility. Each action retrains your nervous system to understand that fear does not equal danger. Reassurance does not come before action, it comes after. Confidence is not a prerequisite, it is a result. When you stop asking how to get rid of fear and start asking what small step you can take while fear is present, resistance decreases. Behavior changes emotion, not the other way around. Fear thrives in vagueness. When your goals are unclear and your next step undefined, fear has unlimited space. But when action becomes specific, fear suddenly has boundaries. Clarity weakens fear. Fear cannot argue with a simple instruction. Many people set actions that are too large for their nervous system, mistaking overwhelm for laziness. The body resists massive change because it feels unsafe. The solution is to design steps so small that fear cannot justify resistance. Not the full conversation, just drafting the message. Not the full commitment, just the first 5 minutes. Motion begins, momentum follows, and fear hates momentum. You stop asking how you feel and start asking what you can do. Fear keeps people trapped in emotional negotiation. Action does not require emotional permission. As you begin, anticipation dissolves and reality feels manageable. Starting is always harder than continuing. Consistency matters more than intensity. One small action repeated daily dismantles fear faster than one bold move followed by avoidance. Repetition tells the brain, this is normal now. Familiarity breeds calm. Confidence grows through evidence, not motivation. Fear does not disappear all at once. When it weakens, it adapts. It shifts from loud resistance to quiet delay. Tomorrow, later, when things are clearer. This delay feels reasonable, which makes it dangerous. Rhythm defeats this tactic. When action is tied to structure instead of mood, fear loses leverage. Perfectionism is another disguise. It convinces you to wait until conditions are ideal, but perfectionism is fear pretending to be standards. Growth requires imperfect exposure, not endless preparation. Non-reactivity becomes essential. You do not argue with fear, you act anyway. Over time, emotional stability develops. You feel discomfort without being controlled by it. Fear becomes information, not authority. You move forward calmly without urgency or retreat. As fear loosens control in one area, it collapses in others. You begin trusting yourself. You stop outsourcing decisions. Shame dissolves. Progress becomes quieter, steadier, more grounded. Obstacles feel smaller because your response has matured. Fear fades not through conquest, but irrelevance. You no longer wait, you move when something matters. Small action teaches the body's safety. Self-trust replaces hesitation. Fear loses purpose. Fear may still appear, but it no longer decides. You slow down, break the moment into pieces, and move anyway. Resistance, not fear, was always the barrier. Action was always the door. You do not kick that door open. You turn the handle calmly and step through. This is how fear is overcome, not in a moment, but in a pattern of small steps, quiet discipline, and self-respect. And once that pattern is built, fear no longer has a role to play in your future.